Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, brought to you by me, Mal McCallion, and my good friend and co-host, Matt Goddard. Matt, how are you today?
I'm really good, thanks, Malcolm. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Very well. Yes, apart from you, my mother calls me Malcolm, and that's about it. But anyway, we shall move on.
I think it's from spending a week together, right? I just feel a bit more like I should be a bit motherly towards you.
That's good. Thank you. And it was a great week, wasn't it, last week? Although I had a bit of a cold, but apart from that, it was good. We were in Madrid, for those who didn't know, and saw some amazing presentations at the PropTech and Property Portal Watch conference, which I'm sure we may touch on as we go through. But we have so much to get through. But first of all, we're going to tuck into our property news. All right, so property news this week, we're going to kick off with about market share. So we've spoken about this some months ago, probably. The brains at 20EA have given us some stats about self-employed agents market share, Purplebricks agents market share, and things like that. So the news for self-employed agents is that their market share is up. They retain their lead over the biggest brand, which is William H. Brown, very, very, very slightly. EXP have got 1.33% market share. William H. Brown's got 1.32%. So, Matt, just more kind of indications that this is a sector that is here to stay, although tempered by the fact that it's still not massive.
And it's one that we were discussing actually last week, wasn't it? A few of us together. And it's a case of some of these self-employed agencies, especially powered by EXP, are pretty much franchises now with bricks and mortar offices on the high street. And we discussed in Ireland, weren't we? And how some of those businesses over there, like Sherry Fitzgerald and D&G, stipulate that you have to have a bricks and mortar high street presence. But when does a self-employed agent stop being self-employed and become a franchise? You've got 10 employees working for you. You've got a bricks and mortar or high street office. Where does the line get drawn?
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's a very kind of movable feast, isn't it? Particularly as now EXP has targeted or been targeting, as you say, those bricks and mortar businesses, and a number of their self-employed agents who have historically not worked from an office have now opened up their offices. I'm thinking Holly Lickis up in York and others. So look, it's very much a sector that is in flux. I think obviously there are also a lot of self-employed agents that are counted numerically as being part of it, but aren't necessarily pushing through the numbers that some of the others are. So there is, I think, a lot kind of that's under the cover of self-employed agents. And interestingly, EA actually bundled them together with the onliners, which is, again, quite an interesting sort of coming together. And they talk about the overall sector of self-employed and onliners as being 5.2% of the whole market, which is it's kind of where it generally sticks. And I remember kind of coming into the market in 2000, and the for sale by owners, or the guys that kind of wanted to do it by themselves, it was generally about 5% of the market. It's been about 5% of the market ever since. And when Purplebricks came along, pretty much all of the for sale by owners jumped into Purplebricks because then they could get onto it to Rightmove as well. But whereas Purplebricks' overall numbers are starting to come up or continuing to come down. That's being offset in this sector, as 20A call them, by the rise of the self-employed. However, Purplebricks has changed its business model again and is now not offering the thing that they kind of said was going to be their big thing when they were bought out of administration by Strike for £1, which is offering free, for you to be able to list for free. And then they would make their money by flogging you ancillary services, mortgages, conveyancing and stuff like that. So they have gently removed that, it seems, and really kind of certainly not made as big a fanfare as they made of most of the other stuff they've done. Just thought that was quite an interesting sort of sly move. And I wondered what that meant in your view for Purplebricks.
Well, I think that's something that came across from Strike, wasn't it? That was Strike's MO, was the fee-free listing and side of things. It wasn't something Purplebricks necessarily had done before. They had the upfront fees and the tiers and do your own viewers, do your own sales progression, whereas Strike was very much that fee-free, just to make sure at this time of morning I can say it properly, approach. So I'm not surprised that's dropped away. You could say, well, actually, it was almost Strike bought Purplebricks, but actually Strike's taking on some of that Purplebricks business logic. And it was a question for a long time, wasn't it? It's like, how's Strike going to make some money if if they're not charging anything, just referring on those third parties. Well, now we know.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we don't need to go too much detail into it here, for those that know. But yeah, it was always a race to the bottom. Charging nothing for selling somebody's home not only denigrates the actual service itself, it also doesn't incentivize you to get it done, right? And that if you're not getting any money for getting it done, then why would you be striving to get it done over one that you aren't getting money for? So yeah, look, it's always been a very weird business model, one that almost was just chasing the headline rather than necessarily the business behind it and the actual operational side behind it. Now they've gone back to, as you say, Matt, the kind of traditional Purplebricks, which is some tiers cost some money, still no incentive at the front end to kind of sell it. So yeah, I guess it's just a kind of watch this space. They've lost an absolute ton of cash again over the last year, which is one of the drivers for this particular move. So is it going to limp along for 6 months, a year? What's their next move? Because they've gone back to Purplebricks basics, which was pretty much from 2016, but they just don't have the budget to be able to flog it hard to the public. Yeah, it remains to be seen how long that's going to continue. But I don't think it's necessarily going to be mourned by much of the rest of the industry, if I can put it that way. All right, next up on our property news, wanted to just kind of touch on the Chris Watkin, one of our favorite statistical experts out there on his sofa, has said that essentially agents are now back at 1% for their fees. And this is being put in the context very much of, it used to be sort of 1.6, 1.8, and it's been plummeting sort of ever since, but it did dip up a little bit over the last year or two, and now it's gone back down again to 1%, says Chris. Yeah, this is terrible news for the industry, right, in general. We were again in Madrid last week listening to international portals talking about, their agents getting 2, 3, 4, 5%, which is money earned for a job well done. And in this country, whether you can blame our previous story, Purplebricks, for accelerating it, certainly it doesn't feel like agents are what's known in the trade as price proud.
Mm-hmm. And we know some really price proud agents can get a better fee, right? If they back themselves, do a good job and make it clear what's in as part of that. But that race to the bottom, and putting this in context though, that's alongside that drop from 1.6% 20 years ago, is alongside something like Rightmove, where the costs on average were 183 quid a month back in 2006, and now we're looking at 1,520 per month currently. So have your fees dropping that dramatically and your costs going up, and I appreciate some of these bigger models or bigger agencies are getting a lot cheaper fee than that 1,500 quid that's quoted in the article. But even so, those costs are pretty dramatic, aren't they?
Yeah, listen, regular listeners won't be surprised that the 89% increase from 2006 to now is a key kind of focus for me in terms of, this is crippling the industry. So yeah, we can do something about that. We can talk about that another time. However, what I think is really, really, really important is, as you say, some agents are really, really good at getting high fees. And that is because they do go in with this, supreme kind of confidence about what it is that they're selling, the service that they're providing, etc. So, there are numerous training courses. Some amazing trainers out there. There's some, really some good stuff that you can get online about this sort of thing too. But, as we kind of head into 2026, obviously we've got the budget in a few weeks' time. Things are in a bit of a state of flux again as well. Being able to control that, being able to actually, say, right, well, our price is, 1.5, whatever, and these are the reasons why, I think is going to be really, really important. I do think that AI is going to help with that. I think that, again, agents who do have a point of difference, are known for their quality, do want to really establish a kind of a line in the sand that says this is what we're worth and this is why. AI is going to be really helpful for that, because it can help the likes of ChatGPT, etc., to discover you, to find out what makes you different, as provided it is available to ChatGPT on your website. So, again, anybody wants to chat about it, let it know. But yeah, you've just got to make sure that you are shouting from the rooftops all the time about how good you are, why you're good, and that will come through. So yeah, I think it's a real kind of important nudge and reminder for everybody to really be thinking about the prices, because if they just keep going down, then yeah, everything else is going to fall away, and it's not going to be good news for you and your business at all. All right, that's very serious news.
That feels like it's going to be one of your Instagram reel cut-ups.
Instagram Reel rants. So next up in our property news, we're talking about fall throughs again, so things that aren't necessarily the most cheerful for this this Thursday morning we're recording this. But again, this is kind of really important, and it says that shocking fall through rates are being experienced by agents over the last kind of quarter between July and September. I think we heard a lot of anecdotes about that, and we heard a lot of agents kind of saying that, and particularly when the Chancellor started to make noises about the budget again this year as she did last year, and saying that essentially, there's going to be some changes to property taxes, and everybody just kind of decided to sit on their hands, didn't they?
That's it, and it's when not even sit on your hands. If you're already in, you suddenly sort of stepping back, getting off your hands, and backing out of these things, and it really has thrown everyone into a bit of a freeze, hasn't it? Not just in terms of what's going on, but also if you're already in that process. And I was away with Complete ASAP, and they're sort of helping people along that chain and seeing the sort of the sales progressions through. There is that sort of question mark for businesses now and vendors and buyers over actually what's going to come out of that budget. How many weeks off is it now?
26th of November, I think it is. So about 4 or 5. Yeah, too long. Basically, that's the rest of this.
Just wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. So let's scoot away from Britain and its rain, and let's go to sunnier climes, shall we? And get some property news in from Dubai and Oz. And Matt, there's been a lot of talk over in Dubai about the number one property portal out there. Again, the chief exec was on stage last week. Now they were going to do an IPO for a huge amount of cash, and they've pulled it right at the last minute, haven't they?
Well, it's actually to start off. There's an interesting debate about which one is actually number one, because I think on stage last week someone was saying they were number one, but there's not. So for people listening who aren't aware, or to give a bit of context, there's like over here in the UK, there's two main portals. Obviously over here you get the PR every so often that there's a third that's number two and number two that's number three. But there's Property Finder and Bayit, and Bayit is part of the Dibizzle groups. They are basically arguably number one or two is Property Finder and Bayit, and switch them around as you see fit, and then Dibizzle the third. And at a time where there doesn't seem that much in terms of financial movements over here, and so obviously we just spoke about the actual market. Property Finder, we're going to go for an IPO with I think it was a market cap of 170 billion. And so 1 minute that was all set to go, and then late last night the IPO has been pulled while they sit and assess the optimal market timing, probably the optical market timing too. And alongside this, Property Finder, their main competitor, raised 525 million in investment last 2 weeks ago, and has just raised another 250 million in debt to drive regional growth. So there's a heck of a lot of activity there in the Middle East. I saw another article just about it was a record month or record quarter even in terms of PurpleTricks transactions going through. Whilst it's a bit turgid here, there's plenty going on in the Dubai market at the moment. Sort of continuing around the world, actually. Over in Australia, there's been a lot of movement too. This probably fits more into the tech news than the property news, but MRI that people in the UK will be aware of from their acquisitions of CML Radar, a great product based out of Berkshire and still used by some very big agencies. Aspasia, run by Trevor Ewens, and then obviously rolled up into MRI. Over in Australia, they've made some similar sort of acquisitions with number one CRM of something like Box and Dice, but they've just acquired PropTech Labs, a business that has the Australian version of Fixflow, I guess, and an inventory system that's interesting to see MRI acquisitive again after so long, and with rumours of an IPO potentially going through there.
Yeah, exactly. So there is, a lot of kind of activity that's sort of happening elsewhere in the world that it really can kind of reflect back on some of the businesses over here as well. What does that mean for, so MRI obviously again has a lot of products here, as you say, Matt. And there are a lot of agents who still use their products and services. So I think it could be interesting to see how what they do. And then the Dibizzle. So it's just a bit of a shock that it's not going through, right?
exactly.
Interesting comment from in one of the WhatsApp groups from Simon Baker saying, did this debt financing that they raised 250 million, like literally this week, actually scare the markets, and then they decided they had to pull it. So there's a lot of rumors and a lot of kind of interesting insights going on as to why, but I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash. I don't really doubt that they'll go back to it. I think that's kind of spend this long building it and then just pull
Exactly,
away.
you do a lot of work to get prepped for that, right? And then to suddenly step back and run. But the final one from Australia, I thought you might quite like, is Ray White's. It's a family run group. I think we've got about 1,000 offices. Did 128 billion of property transactions last week. And at a time when there's a lot of AI videos in Sora and VO3, have actually released an old-fashioned video with a Hollywood star to market a property. And what's really interesting for me is not just, I didn't know this Hollywood star when I was watching the video, and maybe we can drop it into the, he was in Mission Impossible 2 and also Mission Impossible 2 and Van Helsing. I don't know if that's the original Van Helsing or one of the follow-up ones with Kate Beckinsale, but it's interesting because it's old school. It's marketing a particular property where it was a joint firefighter and his wife selling this particularly impressive looking in property. And it's great. We'll drop it into the video week and you can have a look. There isn't any AI in there, but there's some entertaining nods to the films he's clearly been in. What was interesting as well alongside this is the fact that they cite their CRM Nurture Cloud as being something that was rather highlighted the fact that there's a lot of interesting buyers coming through the door of that one. As I say, at a time where people are, yes, great PR, and at a time where I think it hit all the news as well, but it's not AI, it's proper old-fashioned cinematography.
Yeah, good on them. Yeah, look, I think that for a very long time we're going to be seeing that kind of dual use. There's a place for all of it, right? I think it's really, really remains really powerful, and I think that humans are going to continue to be telling compelling stories for a long, long time yet. Right, let us move on because we are way behind and we can't get through. So we're going to talk now about our AI and tech news. So there's only one big story really this week in the world of tech, and that is the AWS outage, which basically took down absolutely tons of servers and clouds around the world, and basically left a lot of people in the lurch. Matt, as somebody who works in this area a lot, what did that mean for you?
It's delightful timing for me. I was on a train to Leeds at the time, so it's perfect. Fortunately, none of the LNER systems seem to be underpinned by AWS, so the train boards were up, the train ran on time. In fact, I think we even got in early, which is significant for it. And then I managed to get my Uber from Leeds train station out to the hotel. So those spun, but it was 30% of the internet basically relies on AWS, and I've been doing a lot of work with companies I work with on not just in the tech world. We focus on DR and HA, so disaster recovery and high availability, and it's something you almost lose sleep over. Just make sure that's your focus for times like Monday, but actually for businesses that maybe aren't just pure focus on tech, is on the business continuity plan. What do you do in these situations to keep things running? Is it revert to good old pen and paper and upload it? When do you fall over? Phone systems like AirCall went down, so suddenly all those call centers weren't able to work, and the notes weren't being transcribed by AI and pushed into the CRMs anymore. So you have to think about what do you do in these positions to keep running. But of the number of apps that went down, what was the first one that triggered your awareness a bit, Mal? Was it the McDonald's app going down, or was it Snapchat being unavailable?
Fortnite. I was in the middle of a great game. Just couldn't believe it.
I thought that's it. That's why you weren't able to do the podcast on Monday, wasn't it? I thought that was a Fortnite Monday.
That's right. Everybody knows that's exactly where I am every Monday. It's one of those things that, if you were affected, then it was absolutely catastrophic. And if you didn't, then it's just like, oh, that kind of thing seems to be making a lot of noise over there. But yes, Amazon Web Services, AWS. That's, if it hasn't triggered in you a need to find some, or make sure that you've got some resilience there, even if you did miss it, then it's a kind of shot across the bow. We are so interconnected in absolutely everything that there is a certain level of inevitability about something going wrong at some stage with some technology. So you do need to have, as Matt says, that resilience.
And it's very much that you're not big enough to fail sort of situation, because we had CloudStrike last year, which obviously took a heck of a lot of stuff down. We had Salesforce's Heroku go down in June. And so, it's these big behemoths who are being affected, as we saw with AWS. And what really stands out is companies that you weren't aware were on AWS suddenly sending you emails to say, I'm sorry for the loss of service. We're doing X, Y, and Z to repair it. So definitely that diligence of knowing, it's not just that you're a Microsoft stack or a Google stack, but what about the things like Zapier that uses the plumbing between some of these systems? What are they using for? What is your phone system hosted on, so that you understand the potential for this, and what is your plan for as and when these go down, so you can continue working?
All right, so that's our kind of big news this week. In other news, OpenAI, unsurprisingly, after a run of most of our tech stories last week, is back with some news story, and particularly it's the launch of its web browser. Now, again, for those that have listened to us for way too long, you will know that I've been mildly obsessed with waiting for this to come along. It is called ChatGPT Atlas. I have been using Dia as my AI browser. I've now switched ChatGPT Atlas as of yesterday when it came out, and it's awesome. Have you been using it, Matt?
Thank you, Malcolm. You know full well that I've not been using it. It's for everybody's benefits. When Dia came out, and Mal wasn't aware for this, so it's not that he was ribbing me, but Dia was only available on Macs, and unfortunately for Mal, Dia was acquired by Atlassian, and he's going to be very, very much focused on business productivity. But with Atlas, this is also currently only available on Macs, and it's understandable, right? Because it's fully integrated with your Mac OS. So text message codes that come through for authorization are consumed immediately. It's plugging into multiple features of your Mac OS. So to have that deep integration, you really need to focus on one thing, don't you? But I'm still rocking along with my Perplexity Comet. I've got some great use cases coming out, which isn't just book me a dining table or take a photo of this menu and book me a shop for my things. It's all book me a holiday. It's the 2 or 3 things that everyone seems to use as their live demos. Well, what are you using this awesome piece of kit for, Matt?
So it integrates with my ChatGPT. So essentially, it's got access to all of my historic kind of questions, all of the things that I've asked it to do in the past. I can get it to. So essentially, it behaves as if you imagine your Google Chrome, but that as a with AI baked into it. And again, we can talk very shortly about the fact that Gemini has also got an injection into into the Google Chrome browser. But this is a brand new browser. It's run by OpenAI. It's got ChatGPT. You can click a button on the right-hand side that says Ask ChatGPT, and anything you're looking at, you can just chat and ask it questions. So it actually then goes deep into whatever it is that you're looking at, but then you can ask subsequent and other questions outside of that, just like you do normal ChatGPT, and it goes off within your browser and will actually answer you questions and stuff like that while you're looking at something else. So yeah, it just becomes this kind of complete experience. It is really, really, really helpful. I think particularly I've found the fact that it does know who I am. It's got memories of what I like, what I do, etc., who I work for. I have found that it's much easier to draft emails and things like that in a sidebar down the side while it's looking at my inbox, and that's been really helpful. And I can ask it to rewrite it in my style and things like that. So yeah, it's called ChatGPT Atlas. If you do have a MacBook or one of the other Macs, you'll be able to find to download it right now. But yeah, it's undoubtedly coming to everybody. But it's a really, really good piece of kit, and it kind of feels like the next level of what it is going to be part of this kind of ChatGPT ecosystem. And I'm sure it's going to be ridiculously popular and will also help to supercharge ChatGPT as being the kind of dominant consumer brand as well.
Well, it is, isn't it? If you think about, before you move on, and if you think about the context, pun intended, of the large language models have been trained on the entirety of the publicly available internet, what these AI browsers doing is now giving you and training them on the personally available browsing history of you, Malcolm. And there was learning for the things that aren't available on the publicly available internet. So suddenly the LLMs are becoming very powerful and very specific to you. And that context that comes along is the knowledge that helps form the browsing and the sort of identification of that search that you're doing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then it just becomes really sticky, right? And then you're just kind of like, well, actually, I would go and use Google Gemini, but I just can't be bothered, so I'll just stick with ChatGPT. So, yes, it's a good move. It works really, really well. I have to say, it works better than Dia. There were certain logins in Dia that I would try, and then it would fail. But ChatGPT absolutely nails it. So yeah, no, it's a really, really good piece of kit. One that I'm sure we will return to. All right. Also in ChatGPT news this week, slightly is this a conversation we want to really be having in, in glorious public? So ChatGPT is allowing erotica into its searches and creations and all that sort of stuff. Following on from Grok doing this, Elon Musk Grok doing this a long time ago, actually. But yeah, Sam Altman is now saying that we're all adults here. His piece of kit, his AI can magically understand if you are a 14-year-old boy versus a 25-year-old man. And therefore it can show you Oscar or not, depending on what it believes and how old it believes you to be. So yeah, it just kind of feels like guardrails are falling away a little bit. But yeah, the kind of bold point that he makes is, look, we're all adults. If you want to do it, then go crazy.
It's that relaxation of the safety restrictions, isn't it, really? Moving away from that nanny state that they were in originally to be a bit more open and making sure that you've got your verified ChatGPT to do this. And originally it was around mental health concerns, wasn't it? And making sure it's not just erotica, but a number of other dangers that people can have when engaging with a chatbot that they feel is a real person at the other end. And whether they go down some dangerous routes or they go off into erotica, as you seem to have highlighted, it's those guardrails dropping away that are the interesting piece. And I think it's continuous with a lot of things, isn't it? But it's where do you draw that line, and how do you check on that safety?
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, the kind of guardrail side of things is an interesting one because it does seem to be reasonably arbitrary. If you look at Sora, for example, and again, just kind of dipping into our next story, Sora, the video creation, Sora 2 app, still not available in the UK, by the way. Basically, it's got like Martin Luther King Jr. And his relatives have asked that his likeness is removed, and ChatGPT have removed that. Now, those listening 2-3 weeks ago, will know that when Sora 2 first came out, it was just like no guardrails at all. It's like, oh, let's just you can make anything of anything, including
the
Martin.
Queen wrestling somebody else, that sort of thing.
100%. So but then he's slowly pulled that back and gone, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened. I can't believe everybody getting so upset about it. And now he's actually banning specific likenesses and specific people from the actual app. So yeah, it does, when he talks like really kind of, oh well, we've thought long and hard about this and we think everybody's like grown up enough to do this. It's like, but also on the other side of your business, you're just literally throwing things around and just seeing what sticks and then changing things suddenly. So yeah, I think there's always a little bit or a lot of commerciality in these kind of decisions as well, rather than it just being like it's time now that everybody just grew up and we can have big things for for grown-ups. So yeah, I think it's a little bit smoke and mirrors, but we shall see where it all ends up. All right, important news for what AI can bring to kind of curing diseases. You kind of pulled this one through about Google's Gemma being able to or discovering a new kind of cancer treatment, right?
I did indeed. And I think this 2 weeks ago or even last week, we were talking about the fact that some of the researchers at the big labs, the foundational labs, are a bit despondent with the fact Sora 2's out there and it's been made in social channel. And what's the point of me doing all this AI research and hard work? And actually, it's this counter one where Gemma, which is one of Google's it's out Google DeepMind, and Yale have actually built an AI model to identify potential cancer drug combinations. So looking at drugs that are already available. And this particular one is looking at cold tumors, which basically are not visible to the immune system and therefore not being targeted by antibodies. Looking at how those cold tumors can be used by existing medications or combinations of existing medications rather than having to go under radiotherapy and make them start to present. So it really marks a shift for AI analysing that data to generate new scientific hypothesis, and again, potentially cutting through years of sort of the early stage drug discovery. So like really positive use. And I think this is what a lot of people go to university, do that, learn about the AI, go into that research side of things. They're not necessarily hoping to create the next Sora 2 cat jumping through a window while you're on the toilet sort of video. They're looking at how you can actually help people in the real world. And I'm sure everybody's unfortunately had an experience of family members or friends that have gone through cancer therapy. So to see this sort of thing coming through is a real positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it touches obviously so many lives. There's Rich Kombolak, who works in our industry, really great guy. His wife sadly's got breast cancer right now. He's at the EA Masters on a couple of weeks' time, actually, and he's going to brave the shave. So yes, do look him up, Rich Kombolak. There's a Just Giving page, I'm sure, around that you can discover for him and his wife. But yeah, he's going to be at the EA Masters, and looking forward to seeing him, and hope obviously that everything works out well for them. But and all the others, the many others that are impacted by this horrible disease. And yeah, just some really good news that potentially there are cures that are being created and discovered via AI already, which is great. More kind of tech and sort of AI for good news. We've got the long-awaited arrival of Waymo into London coming up, right? And that, I'm afraid, is something that I am ridiculously excited about.
I see it, the electric Jaguars or the I-Paces, whichever. We'll be jumping in one, won't we, when you arrive into King's Cross. We'll get there early doors in 2026, and maybe you'd even do a podcast live from it. We could get a cab from King's Cross to Camberwell and then see how that goes. But it's a great way to finish this week's AI and tech news, to know that these Waymo cabs are finally arriving in the big smoke.
Yeah, exactly. If you've kept any sort of eye on San Francisco, probably over the last couple of years since they first started out, everybody who gets into the first one has this magical experience. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But then literally by day 3, they're just like, yeah, it's fine. So that's the general kind of human capacity for surprise and joy is very quickly just kind of business as usual. But yes, super excited for that coming along soon. Now, as Matt says, that is pretty much all we've got time for our tech and AI news. Although I am just going to squeak in, Google VO 3.1 is out, so that's important. Go and have a look at that. That's the video from Google. Came out a couple of weeks ago. We missed it. Interesting, WhatsApp, Meta are changing some of their rules around what you can plug into WhatsApp, particularly AI chatbots. So that's something to keep an eye on. Amazon's Ring doorbells. The ICE over in the States, Amazon is now sharing some of the footage from Amazon's Ring doorbells with the ICE, which is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, I think, is there. So basically the guys that are going around cracking down on immigrants over there. So again, just be mindful of that.
It wouldn't have been much use on Monday, would it, when AWS went down and all those Ring doorbells were broken?
True. Very true. I like the circular nature of our AI tech news there. Brilliant. All right. So we have a very short amount of time for our tool of the week. Okay. This is very much one for you, Matt. So Google can now help you put on makeup for Google meetings. So, if you don't quite get enough time, and sometimes, when we're recording very early in the mornings, I know you don't get to put your lippy on. So Google now allows you to put some makeup on just using AI.
That's it. And some great things in Google Meet already, isn't there? I was speaking to a friend of mine who's property manager, runs she's MD of property management business, trying to do translate. Someone said, have you got any recommendations for trying to do some live translations? And so Google Meet's already got that available for you. You can have your conversations with Mandarin, Cantonese speakers and have it translate in real time. But now I don't even need to worry, as you say, about getting the blusher on and worrying about covering up whatever issues I've got with my complexion on a particular morning. I could just stick on the touch-up view. I thought, actually, when you said it was one for me, I didn't think you were going down the makeup route. I thought you were going to refer to Google have also launched their vibe coding within Google Studios. That came out yesterday, and you can literally plug in AI chatbots as a vibe code and actually have it available on your website in 2 or 3 clicks. You can drag Nano Banana into it. It's exceptionally powerful, but maybe we'll cover that one in more detail next week when the news is properly broken.
Absolutely, yeah. And there are a number of other tools of the week. So also, Google's Gemini can help you schedule Google Calendar meetings now as well. So again, something else for you to keep an eye out on. But lots and lots of tools coming in thick and fast right now. Final thing, and I know we've really got to go. Weird AI of the week. Just wanted to cover this one. Channel 4 did a story, a Dispatches story this week, where it was kind of exposing a lot about AI and how people are using it and how it's kind of sneaking into work in particular. So, something like 8 million jobs in the UK alone are being potentially outsourced by AI. But the big kind of rug pull right at the end was actually the presenter of the show. Somebody called Aisha Gaban was actually an AI. So that was the big kind of weird AI of the week. That
reveal, Scooby-Doo style reveal at the end of it. You should have done a spoiler warning there.
sorry. Yes, if people are going to watch it, and yes, did not want to know that. I'm terribly sorry, but actually, that's anybody who hasn't watched it already isn't going to watch it for anything else if they're listening to this show. But anyway, that was our Weird AI of the week, and that is all we've got time for this week. Thank you very much indeed for listening. I know that this went on a little bit longer than we usually try and do, but there was so much to pack in. We'll be back again next week, won't we, Matt?
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to it too, Malcolm.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, listen, have great weeks out there. Lots and lots and lots going on. Apologies, this is a little bit late in the week as well, because for scheduling issues, I believe professionals call it. But yeah, we'll be back again, hopefully close to our usual time, hopefully releasing this on Wednesday at the latest. But yes, have great weeks, and we will see you then.
Yeah, take care, everyone.